So welcome, Martin Singh, NDP candidate for Brampton East. You are right now on Punjabi Business Channel. Martin, it's a little platform we have. We discuss anything from politics to real estate to business to some entrepreneurs. So something that I think was needed in the community too, and it's become a good response. We're glad to have you here. Little bit about yourself, Martin, and I know a lot of people recognize the face, your presence has been in the community, has been uh, uh, in a lot of events. A little bit about yourself, my friend.
So in terms of education background, I went to university for a little while. I have 4 university degrees, which may be 1 or 2 too many, but it started with chemistry, went to chemical engineering, pharmacy, and then an MBA. And then with that, and along with my brother and a couple other business partners, we put together a healthcare business that has care facilities here in Ontario, but also back home in Nova Scotia, the province of my birth. And right around now, I think we have maybe about 350 employees all in, I think so, and the care facilities, when people think about care facilities, they feel it is focused on old age homes, but that's not what we do. We do more psychiatric illness and acquired brain injury. So anything to do with mental health really is really, our area of expertise. And outside of that, I've been a member of the Canadian Armed Forces Reserves for many, many years. Currently, I'm an officer with the 557 Lawrence Scots, and I was commanding officer of that cadet unit up until this past June. And it's that, community type work that I've done in the past, along with other volunteering opportunities and that sort of thing, that has allowed me to stay very much in touch with the concerns of folks and know what needs to be done come February 27th when I'm elected as the NDP MPP for Brampton East.
We've seen your presence in the Nagar Kirtans with your cadets. That's always a good to see, because that's something I think even the youth now, if someone wants to participate, I've been advocating goonforces.ca and sign up. Well done for that. Coming from healthcare, so I think that's something that you have a good background in. What do you see right now, the current situation of Ontario in terms of healthcare? Some big areas like Caledon or even Brampton right now is we're still under where we should be.
So certainly, so quite right. I do have a solid background. Aside from my pharmacy degree, I'm also a licensed pharmacist with the College of Pharmacists here in Ontario, and so I'm licensed to practice. And the challenges that we have here in healthcare run very deep. So let's start, for example, we're going to go full circle. So we'll start with the family doctor problem. So the family doctor problem in here in Brampton is severe. About 1 out of every 8 people living in the city, or about 104 to 105,000 people, don't have a family doctor. What this means is that when they have challenges with their health that should be dealt with at a family physician clinic level, they're effectively forced to go to the emergency room.
Yeah.
And we already are lacking hospitals and emergency rooms in Brampton, which would cause a huge backup and delay. And then the fact that folks don't have a family doctor is compounding that delay. And so that's why you sometimes hear folks waiting, 10, 12, 20, even 30 hours in an emergency room waiting for care or to be admitted to the hospital. It's because the system has been allowed to break down over time. And this really shows gross neglect on behalf of the current Conservative government and the previous Liberal government as well, because it's not a new problem. You look at our population now, Paji, with 800,000 people in Brampton, we have more people than does Mississauga. Yet Mississauga, depending on how you count it, has 3 or 4 hospitals where we only have 1. And so we shouldn't be battling for hospital number 2. We really should be battling for hospital number 3 or 4. But, the Conservatives and Liberals have chosen to punish Brampton.
Have we not learned anything from COVID?
Well, COVID is one thing. I mean, just all different kinds of things too. Like when we take this to another level, we know that TMU is coming with a medical school for Brampton, and that's lovely. Yeah, like we're going to have some folks that are going to be, get their degrees in medicine. But Paji, once they graduate, where are they going to go for their residency?
Yeah.
Like we're not creating new residency spots. And so the hospital that we need, yes, it reduces the emergency room wait because now you have 2 emergency rooms instead of 1. Also, too, it allows people to be cared for in a hospital setting inside their own city instead of being shipped to Toronto or Vaughan or Georgetown because we have no spots. And so that's a benefit. But also, too, the hospital serves a huge and important teaching mechanism as part of the system that we use to train family doctors. And this is particularly important, Paji, because we know from research that when people study in a place and do their practical training in a place, they are much more likely to settle in that place. So if we have the medical school in Brampton and then we have the teaching hospital in Brampton, then people are going to graduate out of the family residency program for doctors, and they're going to settle in Brampton. And this is done in other parts of the province and has been done for years. So, for example, in Northern Ontario, they have difficulty getting doctors up in that area. They have a medical school and training area right there. So people from there can get their degree there, get their training there, and then they're much more likely to stay there because that's where they did all of their work to become a doctor.
Along with the current need for hospitals, Ontario has a big population, aging population. Are we ready?
Well, tragically, we aren't, and this is part of the problem too. That as for you and I, Baji, the gray hairs are coming, but we're still relatively young, right?
Yeah.
We're not engaging the healthcare system all that much yet, but in the coming years, it will happen. And so what it is that with the one hospital in Brampton, we are simply not ready. In addition to that, not only are they not getting timely care, when you don't get healthcare when you need it, the situation gets worse. And so you're either spending more time in hospital once you do get in, or you're visiting the hospital more often. And that causes all kinds of other issues too, because hospitals where sick people go to get better, which means you have the potential to get an illness there. They actually have a special name for it. It's called nosocomial infections. And that's an illness that you contract while you're in a hospital setting due to the fact that other sick people around you. So you want people to make sure that they get in, get the health care that they need as quickly as possible, and get out so that their health is not jeopardized by coming in contact with other patients. And so we don't have what we need to have. And also your question brings up another question about the underservice level in healthcare for nursing. So we talk about the NDP's promise to bring 3,500 family doctors, and we've talked already about why that's important. They're also talking about bringing 15,000 nurses into the system as well, so that we're able to reduce costs, because right now we're paying extra for what they call travel nurses, which costs us almost twice as much as a regular nurse to backfill spots, but also too to make sure that we have general background capacity so that when folks like our parents or grandparents or whatever the case may be need the care they need, they're able to get it.
Going to nurses, there's a little red tape if someone's coming in from another country trying to graduate into our system. Would NDP cut that a bit, or how's that looked on right now?
So it's not only nursing. All of your health professionals have that process whereby people have to go through a particular system. I'm more familiar with the pharmacy one for obvious reasons, given that I am a pharmacist, but certainly it's true for the nursing program as well. People coming in have to pass, I believe it's 2 exams. One's the competency exam, and then the other one, in pharmacy, we call it the OSCE. I'm not sure exactly what the nurse is called, but it's similar. And basically, it's more like the cultural sensitivity aspect, like how we actually practice healthcare here in Canada, as opposed to India or countries in Africa or wherever the graduates come from. And there is an active effort to get these healthcare professionals through the system faster. I know that in years past in pharmacy, it took a very long time. It's now currently much better. And certainly if we get into government, we want to make sure that we have to make sure that the patients are safe with whoever is in front of them. But I think that it is possible to work with the colleges of like the Royal Canadian Physicians and Surgeons College, or the College of Pharmacy, or the College of Nursing, and the other healthcare related professions to accelerate the process of getting them through. And you're seeing articles being generated about that here in this election, more so for the doctor side than nursing side. But Baji, you are exactly right. Nurses need the exact same type of treatment to be able to make them come into the system faster and service our healthcare needs faster.
transit and highways have been a key issue in this election too, and in the past. But right now, we're jumping on plans with tunnels and stuff like that. What's a quick fix right now?
So yeah, the tunnel one raises all kinds of question marks because when it's been done in other cities, it hasn't worked out so well, particularly for the cost involved. The contracts, of course, have already been signed with the 413, but 413 is, I dare say, 10 or 12 years away. Or if they build it at the rate that they're building the hospital in Brampton, maybe never. And so what it is that we can't hold it. Yeah, we can't hold our breath on that one because it quite likely might never get done. So we need solutions now. Back in the 2022 election, the New Democratic Party promised to take tolls off the 407 for commercial vehicles. And I believe that was a fantastic piece of policy, absolutely doable, saves folks time, saves money, increases safety, and makes use of an infrastructure resource that already exists, meaning it's immediately available. Now, since that time, the researchers with the New Democratic Party have gone back, and they now know that not only can we afford to take the tolls off for commercial vehicles, we can take the tolls off for everybody. Now, some people have questions around, how the feasibility of it, sometimes on a financial level, also on a legal level. And part of that comes from the fact that many people believe that the entirety of the 407 is owned by a private company, but that is simply not the case. Certainly, a portion of the 407 is owned by a private company, but there are significant parts that are still owned by the province, and those provincially owned parts of the 407 can have the toll removed immediately. Then you might say, well, geez, what's the cost involved with taking the tolls off the private part of the 407? Well, we also know from the 2022 election and what happened in that year in our provincial parliament that the company that owns that part of the 407 had a $1 billion debt to the provincial government. Now, Paji, I haven't ridden on the 407 in some time, so I don't know what the tolls are, but you can buy a lot of tolls.
They're heavy.
For $1 billion. And what happened was, instead of collecting on that $1 billion and investing it into Ontario, Doug Ford did his rich friends another favor and wrote it off, which is just crazy because, like we talked about, you can buy a lot of tolls or pay for a lot of tolls with $1 billion. You can build a lot of hospital in Brampton for $1 billion as well. We didn't get it, and his friends just got richer. It's really a sad statement on what's happening currently.
Ontario's have been on a promise right now that there are tariff threats looming, and they're not looming. They're already in the news. They are being imposed as per the media right now. That was one of the promises that we will forehead this talk between U.S. and Canada, but the tariffs are coming.
Yeah, so Doug Ford seriously misrepresented what his role is and what his role can be. So not just Doug Ford, but any of the provincial premiers, their role is to participate in a more of an advisory role with Team Canada. And when I say all the premiers, that's not just the provincial premiers. I believe the territorial premiers are involved in that as well. And so they would advise the federal government. The federal government does a bunch of work, maybe gets back in touch with them. And then eventually it is the prime minister in conversation directly with the president of the United States or his surrogate to be able to discuss what's going to be happening with tariffs and when. And so Doug Ford misrepresented himself as being able to wield power in that particular conversation and relationship, when in fact he has no power to wield. And this is a tragedy that we've seen repeated time and time again, where Doug Ford misrepresents himself to the public, shows himself to be a good negotiator, and then turns out to be not a good negotiator or have no role at the negotiating table at all, as the case with tariffs. One of the more recent ones that we had in the news was with respect to the luxury spa that's going in down at the old Ontario place. So I don't know if you're aware of the price tag on that one, Paji, but depending on how you measure it, it's going to come to a ballpark around $2 billion taxpayers' dollars to pay for that. or the equivalent of 400 taxpayers' dollars for every Ontario family. Seems like a lot of money for a luxury spa when, special needs kids in schools don't get their services anymore because Doug Ford cut that. And we also have among the lowest rate per capita of spending on healthcare out of all the 10 provinces and 3 territories in Canada. And so it's a matter of priority. And so what it is, we need to make sure that we, instead of taking money and placing it here or there, or listening to Doug Ford tell us lies about, what he's going to do on tariffs when in fact he's not going to do anything, we need to make sure that we get somebody in there who is going to be very capable. So in comparison,
if the tariffs are imposed, the numbers, the projections, they're looking very serious. Does NDP have a plan for Ontario if we're in?
Yeah, so you're quite right that they look really not good at all, and I would argue that the auto industry is going to be most affected by this. So when we think about goods crossing a border, we kind of think about it in the same way we might cross the border as a human being, meaning, we go to, Chicago to see, maybe a ball game or something like that, or we go to New York City for a quick trip and then come back. But not all goods cross the border that way. So for example, in the auto industry, what happens is that you might have a cylinder built in Canada, crosses the border, 25% tariff. The cylinder then has something placed in it on the American side and is shipped back. So there's another 25% tariff. Now the filled cylinder is put inside a pipe. Pipe gets charged a 25% tariff. Pipe goes in an engine, gets sent back here. We put it on a frame. You understand where I'm going with this, Baji? Like you have effectively compounding tariffs until you have a vehicle that effectively has a 400% tariff or something similar on it. So we already talked about how Doug Ford really is not a good negotiator and is not an effective member of Team Canada. We contrast this now with Marit Stiles. So Marit is the leader of the Ontario NDP and likely will be the next premier of the province of Ontario. And her entire career basically has been as a negotiator. So she's worked in the labor unions. She's negotiated with some of the largest companies certainly in North America, most of which are based in the United States. And as a result of her good work, she has a strong history of negotiating better pay, better job security, and better job benefits. And that's what we really need. We need someone who is intelligent, capable, and has years and years of experience at this particular skill set that's required currently to work with her future fellow premiers, both provincial and territorially, and the federal government through the Prime Minister, to get the best deal possible for the province of Ontario and Canada as a whole.
With economy being an issue in every election, and another one that's been a hot topic, and I think over the years we've got more guns on the streets. We have crime which hadn't made it to the front doors. Now it's gone from your driveway. It's gone into your door. Some people are even looking over their shoulders if they're filling up at the gas station. Is there?
Yeah, and I can share with you that as we go door to door in the riding, not only do we hear about this because people tell us, we also know that some people are generally quite scared because they will come to the door, they will look at us, for whatever reason, choose not to trust us, and then decide not to answer the door. And so people are changing their lifestyle patterns in response to some of the crime challenges that are being had. Now, if we look at the past 4 years of the Ford government, 7 years of the Ford government, Doug Ford and his Conservatives has said that they can't really do anything because it's federal jurisdiction. Well, that's hogwash, really. I mean, there might be a few things that are under federal jurisdiction, but you can't tell me that every crime committed between now and the past 7 years has been under federal jurisdiction. It's just not believable, Baji. And so what it is, we need the government to take responsibility for their actions, and certainly we would do that upon getting elected as your NDP government. Now, beyond that, we have 2 plans that have actually been recommended to government in the past, and they've chosen to ignore them. One of them deals with crime kind of as an overall issue, and that is making sure that there's a proper investment in the criminal justice system. So when I chat with folks on the street, folks are concerned about, people getting bail or people not getting bail and that sort of thing, and then getting back out on the street instead of, maybe if they are guilty, facing their time, behind bars. But beyond that is that if your criminal justice system is underfunded, bail or no bail, if people sit in the criminal justice system too long, the court case is entirely dismissed. And it's like the charges based more or less almost didn't even exist. So they don't end up getting the punishment that should come with what they have done. And in addition, it just allows them to be back out on the street again, even worse than it is now. So that's a point for, like, say, all crime in general. Now, if we focus in on car theft in particular, because I don't think you mentioned it, Paji, directly, but most people are concerned about car theft more than anything else. Yeah. And I'm sympathetic with them. Like, I have a Toyota Highlander, which, if I have my statistics correct, is probably the one of the most stolen vegan. Yeah, one of the most stolen vehicles going. So yeah, we park that inside, needless to say. But other jurisdictions are doing good work in this regard, and we should be learning from them. And so we recommended to the Conservative government to adopt the enhanced VIN tracking system that exists in other jurisdictions, like other provinces in Canada, not every single other province, but some other provinces in Canada, and also in some states of the United States. And they've simply chosen not to do so. The cost is not really enormous. And what it means is that when people steal cars, their ability to get the vehicles revinned, I guess is the term, so a new vehicle identification number for the car in question, they're not able to do so. And as a result, they're not able to sell the car, because if it's sold under the own VIN, it will pop up as a stolen car. And then, of course, no one will want to buy it, because if they did, they would have bought it without the VIN previously. So what it is that we have, like I said, the more general plan for crime overall to help take care of that. And then we have a very specific item for car theft.
It was a snap election, very short time given. There was some talk about it, probably end of summer or so. Were you guys ready?
We were, of course, surprised like everybody else. But in the New Democratic Party, what we try to do is we try to make sure that we're ready no matter what happens. And so just the Sunday prior to the election call, I think we had maybe 40 candidates out of 124 nominated. And then within 6 days of the election being called, so that's less than a week, Baji, we had enough people who were able to negotiate, with their jobs and other aspects of their lives to be able to come out. And so we had a fully nominated slate of 124 candidates by that time. So I would say that we did really the best possible job. And I would also say that, given what I've seen in the news, we have not just all candidates for 124 ridings, but we have fantastic candidates in all the ridings. And this is in sharp contrast to the Liberal Party, which has been having significant problems with their candidates, including some other candidates being proven to have made, racist and intolerant remarks or insensitive remarks or comments around the issue of sexual assault. And so not only do we have all of our candidates in place, they're good quality, and they're going to represent all of their ridings very well when they get elected on February 27th.
So who's voting NDP?
Well, there's all kinds of people voting NDP. So you have folks that are your traditional NDP voters, meaning that people who align with the party and have done so. And that's a fair number here in the riding of Brampton East. In the last 3 of 4 elections, it has been an NDP member in this particular riding. And so there's a good solid base of support here. Then what you have a number of people who in the past voted Liberal, but primarily as a result of Bonnie Crombie being the Liberal leader, don't want to vote Liberal anymore, at least this time, because they know that Bonnie Crombie has an open disregard for Brampton. And so they don't want someone to become Premier of the province that's going to treat us badly. And that's a fair comment. And then you had others who in the past voted Conservative, but are now upset with their local MPP because he's essentially invisible. He doesn't come out and engage with the community at all. In addition, they're upset with the Conservatives just because things aren't working here. Like there might be other parts of the province, like through rural Ontario, where car theft and crime is not a problem, but it's an enormous problem for us. And so they're upset that the Conservatives haven't done anything about it. And they're upset that they also haven't gotten the hospital in or had proper funding for schools. And so really they want to teach them a lesson. I was on the doorstep the other day, and there was a woman who said, I've been a Liberal voter my whole life, but not this time. And then last but certainly not least, you have a group of people out there among the electorate who know me personally. And they feel that I am the best and most qualified candidate. And so irrespective of their voting histories in the past, they're voting for Martin Singh as the person, perhaps instead of, a particular political party.
I think it's been at all levels of government. Sometimes when the elected official is in the seat, the voice is missing. We do not hear from them until the next election rolls around. And I think we do. Just talking from a personal point of view, someone with a voice. It should not just be they're looking to their leader and having them. I think if you represent a community as any writing, you should be out there. You should be voicing. We should be able to hear you. We should be able to hear you on issues in the talks when it matters. Will Martin Singh be out there with that voice?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be out there as advocate for the community and a fighter for them. And you're quite right, Baji. One of the challenges that elected officials have is that once they get down to Queen's Park, they think that that's the majority of the job. But that's absolutely not the case. Like, your job is back here in the riding, engaging with the people who voted for you directly. There's no one down at Queen's Park voting for anybody in Brampton East.
Yeah.
Or if there is, it's only one or two folks, and they live here and travel to work there. And so this is where the work needs to be done, and to make people happy, to make sure that you are making their lives better and doing it in as quick and an efficient and cost-effective way as possible.
So the results are going to be on the 26th, and we wish you all the best. Anything in closing? Anything to do with the timing, the writing, where it's going to be voting? Just want to touch up on that, Martin.
Certainly. So there's a couple different pieces to that aspect of the question. So first of all, if you're having any difficulty whatsoever, get in touch with us. Our office address is 4515 Ebenezer Road. We're in Suite 208. Folks are able to call me directly on my cell phone. So my number is 416-937-4166. So I'll share that again. My phone number is 416-937-4166. So that's where you can contact us if you have any issues. Most people should have received their voting cards by now, but sometimes they don't get issued. For those people who recently became citizens, you might not be on the voters list. And then also for folks that just turned 18 and are now eligible, even though they've been Canadian citizens, since birth, you may not get a voter's card as well. And so make sure that you still get out to vote. You are able to vote without a voter's card, although it is easier to do so with one. And make sure you bring your driver's license as your ID to make that happen.
Do they need anything else than the driver's license? Do they need the proof of citizenship, passport, or anything?
Yeah, you can bring the passport if you wish. Generally speaking, though, the driver's license tends to be enough, in my opinion. But we don't want people to get questioned and stop and then have to drive home and then drive all the way back and to be behind what might be a rather long line, on election day, particularly in the evening of the 27th. And so, yeah, just protect yourself by making sure you have your proper ID on you, even if you didn't get your voter card. Come out to vote for us as your NDP MPP in the riding of Brampton East.
Brampton East, Martin Singh. Always a good talk with you, sir, and best of luck.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having me on the show, Paji. I wish you the very best.
Thank you so much.